I think when people see a program that's not a quick fix gimmick like Code Red, and they see they're going to have to maybe follow a rule or two, maybe make a change in what they eat, and give up on these foods that they're so dependent on emotionally or their body's addicted to, they look at that and they go, "Ooh, I'll have to restrict myself. I'll have to deprive myself." And I get that. I've been there before.
I'm Christy Code Red, and you're listening to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle, where we believe food holds the power to heal or poison, and we believe our society has been misled regarding proper nutrition and weight loss. You're in the right place if you're looking for some straight up truth, because I'm here to shed light on the lies and brainwashing that has taken place over the past 5 decades. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome back to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I am your host, Christy Code Red. Yes, you can see that I have a guest with me. That's coming in a second. Just a minute. Those of you guys listening on the actual app, you're listening to the podcast, you can't see that, but I do have a guest on, and I'm excited to introduce her and have her talk to you. She's got a really interesting subject. But Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle, we are so excited to have you listening. So excited to have you on here. Thank you for the rating and the review. Thank you for subscribing. Without you, this podcast would not be rated so high in all of health and weight loss and fitness podcast in America. So thank you to you. This podcast is sponsored by Code Red Olive Oil from Fresh Pressed Olive Oil. TJ and Megan are awesome, and you can get Code Red Olive Oil if you go to coderedoliveoil.com. Your first bottle is $1, and then every 3 months you get a whole 3 more beautiful bottles of olive oil that are pure, that are handpicked, everything. So we don't partner up with very many people, guys. We partner up with like Swanwick and with the olive oil people and Redmond Real Salt, different people like that. But that's pretty much it. People approach us all the time. They want us to partner with them, and guess what? That's just not Code Red. We don't want to put our name just to anybody, but we will put our name to Code Red Olive Oil at coderedoliveoil.com from Fresh Pressed Olive Oil. We're so very proud of this family-owned company, and they love you as much as we love you, and they want the best for you. So if you go through coderedoliveoil.com, you're also going to get, only for Rebels, a special recipe PDF of recipes of things you can make with your Code Red Olive Oil. All right. I'm excited because Andrea Dell is with me today. And it's funny how this whole thing came about that I have her on this podcast. I tried to steal an idea of Andrea's. I did. I tried to steal an idea, and I heard her say something, and then I tried to steal it. And I tried to do it myself, and then I effed it all up. And so then I contacted Andrea, and I said, "Andrea, would you just come on my podcast? Because I can't quite regurgitate it the way that you said it, because it was so profound when I heard her say it." Let me just, first of all, say thank you, Andrea, for coming on this podcast. I sure appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Christy. I'm really excited to be here. And that Code Red Olive Oil, that stuff is like the Garden of Eden in a bottle. So the stuff on store shelves tastes like paint thinner by comparison. So yes.
That's a great way to say it. Thank you. Yes. And Andrea partakes of the fresh pressed olive oil. We just love them. Andrea, would you give us your background? Because Andrea is a Code Red certified coach. She is the official copywriter. She heads up the copywriting department for Code Red. But it was not an easy feat getting to the level that she is at. And right now, if you would know her now compared to just a couple of years ago, she isn't even the same person. So could you give us a little background on just getting to this point, Andrea?
Sure. So you're absolutely right that I'm pretty unrecognizable just since I found Code Red compared with a few years ago. But my backstory with regard to my weight is that I was always a skinny kid. I never had any problem, even though my diet wasn't the best. There were a lot of things like hamburger helper and and so on, and frozen foods. And then I remember in high school during the summers, I drank a lot of caffeine-free Diet Coke, sometimes 6 a day. And yet my weight stayed okay. But when I went to college, I packed on the freshman 15 over a couple years. And then my weight just kept climbing and climbing. And I got to the point where I was 40 pounds overweight. And interestingly, Christy, I was working out at the height, at the fattest I ever was. I was also working out the hardest and the most often that I ever was. And yet somehow I was both the fattest and fittest I'd ever been. It was just, what is going on here? And there was a lot of guilt and shame associated with that. I felt, well, I'm not doing the right exercises. I'm not working out hard enough. And I ate terrible, and this is my penance for eating that frozen pizza, is to come in the gym and kill myself. And so it was pretty miserable. And I remember the exact moment that I actually thought, that reaffirmed in my mind that exercise was how you address a weight problem. It was while I was in Europe. We did just biking and walking everywhere, riding bikes. I even walked down a couple of mountains in Switzerland, and I lost weight. And then when I got to the US and stopped, it was about 7 pounds. When I got back to America and I stopped exercising, then the weight came on, and then it surpassed where I was. And so I just had this thing in my mind that exercise was how you address it. And in 2012, I learned otherwise. This was before Code Red, but my health just finally said enough. And it went on this downward spiral where I just got super sick. I could not even walk, Christy. My back was so screwed up and in pain and twisted up that I could not even walk, much less go hit the gym. And then I couldn't breathe because my stomach was so swelling. It was pushing on my heart and lungs, and it was all very scary. At one point, I thought I was dying. I thought my heart was just going to go one day and I was going to fall over dead at age 32. And it was changing my diet, changing what I ate, that brought me back from all that. It wasn't exercise. I couldn't exercise. And then, so that taught me, it didn't quite get rid of the exercise mentality, but it did put a big dent in it. And then 2017, I found Code Red, 10-pound takedown, and I joined that. I got a custom program. I lost my weight. I've been maintaining for over 2 years at the time of this podcast recording, and I absolutely love it.
Well, that was huge. And you lost almost 30 pounds, I think 28 days and 7.5 weeks. And it was 28 days, 28 pounds in 7.5 weeks. And so that was huge, but that also catapulted you because you are a writer and you have been a writer for years, for almost 20 years, 20 years now. That's all you've ever done. You've studied it in college. You're an excellent writer. And then losing the weight helped catapult you to stepping out into what you were created to do, which was to write for Code Red. And we think it, and you came to me and you were just like, listen, I want to copyright all of Code Red stuff. And gosh, how long have we had you on staff?
January 5th, 2018 was my first official day with Code Red. I remember the exact day. January 1st, you told me, I'm sending you a proposal. January 5th, we started. That's yes.
Coming up on 2 years. That's so crazy at the time of this recording. It's just wonderful. I love it. But you have, but losing the weight also caused you, it just caused every area of your life to level up and to rise up. And so now Andrea is one of our certified coaches. She became a certified coach on our first round of certified coaches. She's recertified. She stayed on with us. She coaches the maintenance group within the company. And it is, I heard you say something. So now we're up to date with Andrea. I heard you say something because you heard somebody else say something. And please take us back to the story that brought this whole thing that I tried to steal from you.
The story you tried to steal from me. Yeah, you're absolutely right that my life has leveled up in so many ways since losing my weight. It was like it gave me just that win that I needed to keep going. And part of that has been enjoying exercise for the sake of the exercise, all the other benefits, the toning, the stress release, and so on and so forth, without having to sit there and have that horrible guilt and shame about how it's going to affect my weight And so I was at a gym class. It was a CrossFit class. I was there to exercise. I was minding my own business. And another participant in the class saw my Code Red water bottle. She saw the logo and she said, "Oh, you're doing that." And I just said, "Yes." And she said, "I've heard of that and I've heard of her," meaning Christy, "but I could never do it. It's too restrictive." And when she said that, I had the most fascinating epiphany, Christy. I went, I really don't feel restricted at all. And not only do I not feel restricted, I actually feel more free than I ever have. And I'm actually grateful she said that because it led to this epiphany. And I think when people see a program that's not a quick fix gimmick like Code Red, and they see they're going to have to maybe follow a rule or two, maybe make a change in what they eat, and give up on these foods that they're so dependent on emotionally or their body's addicted to, they look at that and they go, "Ooh, I'll have to restrict myself. I'll have to deprive myself." And I get that. I've been there before. But for me, when you make the choice that getting the weight off and feeling great about yourself and physically is more important than that stuff, then it sets you free. And that is what it has been for me. It's set me free with my health, but also in all those areas of my life that I've been able to level up just because of that. It was this domino effect.
And you have traveled quite a bit since you have been on staff with Code Red, and you also, as an independent contractor for us, you also do copywriting for other companies and other entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And you have done, and you're a part of an inner circle of a coaching group. So you've done a fair amount of traveling, not just with the Code Red, but with other things that you're doing. And I think it's really interesting because you and I have gone to a lot of the same places, and you and I will sit out of eating dinner. Maybe a dinner is offered to the two of us, or something is going on where it's an evening time. And I know that neither of us eat late. I know I'm not a late eater at all. In fact, I stop eating at noon, and I don't know what your eating schedule is, but I know it's not 7 p.m. because we have studies and research that back up eating late is not good for a person. And so you and I have both, but I'm interested more in you, have sat out, have gone to the dinners, to hosted dinners, but you have not eaten, or you've gone to different things where you didn't partake in the s'mores around the campfire or the different stuff. And that doesn't feel restrictive to you either.
No, it doesn't. And it's because I've thought about this a lot, and it's because the feeling great is more important to me than eating s'mores at 8 p.m. at night. And would those s'mores taste amazing in the moment? Sure. But the sugar and the gluten and the graham cracker would come back to torment me. I'm sure I'd start burping. And it's not even about the weight gain with some of these foods, Christy, because I am 100% confident I can get that weight off. I've been doing it for over 2 years. So that's not even it. It's the way I feel. I get indigestion, I burp, my tummy bloats up. It's just super uncomfortable. My energy tanks with the big surge of the glucose. And it's not worth it. And it's not that I never feel a little craving or remember how good the s'mores taste. And maybe one bite, but all that stuff is a really slippery slope. And that's the second reason. I feel terrible when I eat certain foods. And then it's a slippery slope, the just one bite mentality. It's not worth it, because once you give in to just one bite, it's never just one bite. One bite becomes another and another and another and another. And so for me, it's just not worth it. And I do feel more free staying in control than I do caving to every impulse I have, because those impulses have not served me. They've led me to being fat and sick. And so just because it might give me a moment's pleasure in the moment, just in the moment, the long-term stuff is so much worse. And I love feeling in control and trusting myself that I can do this. And yeah, no bite of a s'mores around a campfire is worth it. Nope.
Do you get people that harass you for this?
Yeah. So yes, people's reactions are interesting. I've had people say, "I know you're not going to eat anything." I've had people tell me, "Oh, wait, so you can't have that." Someone actually said this to me at an event recently, and it ticked me off, honestly. And I looked at her and I said, "Of course I can. I'm in maintenance, but I'm choosing not to." And that's really what it was. I can eat whatever I want at any time I want. I'm making the choice. I'm making the decision not to put it in my mouth. And that is freeing. I hate the words. Can I be honest here, Christy? I hate the words, "I can't." I mean, I just almost have a gag reflex when I hear them, especially if they happen to slip out of my mouth, which is pretty rare anymore. But so yeah, I've had people say stuff like that. I've had people notice that I'm not eating and start feeling self-conscious, even though I haven't said a word to them, and start saying, "Oh, maybe I need to lose some weight. I should go on a diet." And Code Red's not a diet, but you know how most people see it as a diet. And so, yeah, and people have told me, "You're too skinny." And I don't agree. I think I'm a great weight. I love the way I look and feel. So I don't agree with that. But yeah, I've gotten some interesting comments.
When you were speaking on stage at Unstoppable Influence in Nashville, here just at the beginning of October, did you realize, I don't know, it kind of sounds weird, but when you saw the pictures come back of yourself, did you realize you looked that good, or was that a shock to you? I don't know. The only reason I ask this is because I don't know if you've ever seen yourself on stage. Well, I don't think you have, because you haven't been on stage. That was your first major gig. And I was shocked just because I don't know. I know what you look like clearly. I mean, I've been coaching you from day one, but I guess you just radiated confidence, and you just were glowing, and you were so slender and just really healthy looking on stage. Did you realize that you looked like that, or was that a shock to see?
It was a bit of a surprise. I don't know if I'd call it a shock, but a surprise. Yeah, I went, wow, just who is this person? There was a moment of that. And I think we live in our own heads, we live in our own bodies. And so we don't necessarily have that outside perspective that someone else or that a photograph can provide. But yeah, that was something. I just went, man, who is that? And then I look back at my before pictures from even just a couple months before I found Code Red, and it just looks like a completely different person. If you showed a total stranger the picture of me on stage at Unstoppable Influence, and then that most recent before picture I have from 2 months before I found Code Red, I'm curious if they'd realize it was the same person.
You know, I'm always shocked when someone says something like about being restrictive, because we are meat, vegetables, nuts, eggs, seeds, seafoods, and fat. I mean, we focus on water and sleep. We are eating the proper human diet. We are eating the diet that people were created to eat, that the human was created to eat. So why do you suppose people think it's so restrictive? Is because they can't have the processed, chemical, sugar-laden crap?
I think that is one reason, yes. I think a lot of it is human psychology as well, honestly, in terms of we tend to really, in my opinion, we tend to really focus on what's right in front of us. We're not necessarily that great, and animals and different creatures on the planet are very in the moment, and so we're capable of looking beyond the moment, but I think we're also wired to really pay attention to the moment. And so because of that, we're more interested very often in what's happening now, what's right in front of us. And I believe that includes being able to eat what we want exactly when we feel like it. So I think that's a lot of it, having to and then we don't like changes. Our brains are wired for comfort and familiarity. So any kind of change could be a threat, you know what I mean? And so I think that's part of it as well. And then foods, they're, like you've said before, Christy, next to making love, eating is one of the most intimate things you do with your body. And so food is very enjoyable to eat for most people. And we want to eat things that make us feel good in the moment, emotionally or physically. And so I do think not being able to eat the sugar-laden chemical crap, we know they engineer it so that it really just lights up the pleasure center of our brain. Our bodies and our brains become literally addicted, not metaphorically addicted, literally addicted. And of course, addiction is a whole other beast. So yeah, the idea of messing with any of that can feel restrictive. It's like a loss, like you're grieving not being able to eat a dozen cookies in one sitting. And so yeah, anything that's a threat to that can feel restrictive.
I feel empowered when I know I can go anywhere, whether it be a Vegas buffet or a steakhouse, Chandler's Steakhouse. I know that when I was a speaker one time, the host took all the speakers to Chandler's Steakhouse, but it was past my eating window, and I just didn't eat. I just sat there and drank hot tea. So I find it empowering to have so much control over myself and my hunger and my feelings. I find that. Do you feel the same way?
Oh yes. Yeah. Proving to yourself that you aren't a slave to your impulses and to those addictions is super empowering. Choosing to take control of situations like you've talked about, there's always something you have control over, starting with yourself. You always have control over yourself, if nothing else. And I'm with you. No matter where I've gone since becoming a Code Red Rebel, there has been some option available. On airplanes, if I choose to eat, they often have almonds. If they don't, I drink water. And same thing with gas station convenience stores. I've really explored this. I've deliberately stopped at gas station convenience stores, and I wanted to see what was there. They have jerky, they have hard-boiled eggs, nuts. I mean, there's always something. Pickles. There's always something that you can get that is Code Red approved if you need to. And yes, feeling in control instead of at the whim of your impulses is so empowering. It is so empowering. Oh, it cannot compare to a bite of s'mores at 8 p.m. around a campfire.
I couldn't agree more. And being okay with hunger, letting your body feel the hunger and pushing through it and being okay with it, and not being afraid of hunger. That's something that I found has been really powerful. And we teach our Code Red Rebels on Code Red to, we just don't give in. Well, we certainly don't give in to what society has brainwashed us into believing, which got you in a whole heap of trouble. But we don't give in to just because your body is pretty smart. I mean, it knows it's 8, it's 12, it's 6. It's going to eat on one of those times, and it asks for food during those times. But having the control to push past hunger and push past that uncomfortable feeling, I love that.
Yes, and not being scared of hunger is super empowering. And hunger is a strong sensation. Believe me, I get it. But you always say, ain't nobody going to die from skipping a meal. And it's true. You're not going to die. And honestly, I've made jokes about this, but if we ever end up in a zombie apocalypse where food is scarce, then those of us who are used to not panicking because we feel a hunger pang are going to have a leg up. We're not gonna, and even if you're like recently your flights got canceled, Christy, if you end up in some situation, whether it's that or anything else where food may not be readily available, you're not gonna just have a breakdown because you don't have food right there and you're not used to going without food for 5 minutes. It's not gonna kill you. When I say 5 minutes, obviously I'm exaggerating for the sake of humor, but but hunger it's actually a good thing. That's another thing that you've talked about on Code Red that really helped me flip that switch. Is hunger means our hormones have reset. It is abnormal to go through your life never feeling hungry. The sensation of hunger is caused by normal hormonal reactions and chemical reactions in the body. So learning to view hunger and feeling nice and empty, not hangry with the sweaty upper lip, like you say, but just empty. And even if it is a hunger pang, so what? I'm not going to die. And I haven't died. My body's been fine. Digestion takes up 2/3 of the body's energy, and so it gives your body a little break. I mean, there's so many reasons not to fear being hungry, including feeling empowered. Was there
a time in your life where you were afraid of being hungry?
Yes, pretty much any time before Code Red. We're just kind of brought up to whenever we feel a moment's hunger to give into it and eat something, whether we really need it or not, or whether it's head hunger. We're not taught to think about the emotional component. Am I actually hungry because my body is, or because my head is, or my emotions are? And so, yeah, plenty of times I've felt hungry and I need to eat, and just that kind of anxious, almost panic at times, and not having to succumb to that anymore and go, no, I am totally fine. Yes, another thing about Code Red that is so empowering.
Almost every member of your family, they have gotten healthy through Code Red. They have switched to the proper human diet, which is real food, water, and sleep. And almost all of them, and the ones I can think of, I don't know all the members of your family have their lives have changed. And this has been because of your ripple effect. They've been watching you. They've watched how you've changed, and then they've changed, and then their kids have all the way down the line. This has been remarkable. Your ripple effect has been huge with them, at least.
Yes. And the ripple effect, Christy, it can take a while. My family watched me for a full year of Code Red before they came around. I remember it was May 2018 when my mom joined a 10-pound takedown, when my youngest sister, Calandra, who's lost 110 pounds on Code Red, found out my mom did it, then she said, I'm going to do this too. And mom didn't do it with a custom program. She just did it following challenge rules. Calandra went and got a custom program, even though she's a single mom, and she made it work. And they both got to their goal weights, been maintaining. My stepdad started eating what my mom fixed, which I love when you pointed that out to where who buys the groceries, who makes the meals. And he's lost at least 60 pounds, and he's no longer pre-diabetic, cholesterol normalized, different things like that. Mom is about to get off her blood pressure medicine. In fact, maybe she has by now. I haven't checked in with her about that, but she's reduced it significantly after being on blood pressure medicine for 10 years and thinking it was just part of her age. And Calandra, my youngest sister, my mom, and my vision have all improved, Christy. I just turned 40 at the time of this recording. 40 is when your vision is supposed to start going to pot. Mine improved. I am less nearsighted now. Same with my mom and sister. My mom is in her 60s and her vision improved. So yeah, the ripple effect is just incredible, but it can take a hot minute. It can.
Yeah, they have to be ready. People are always watching you, though, and I just think it's pretty remarkable how your entire life has changed, just from starting Code Red, just from what you've changed the way you've eaten, which has changed the way you feel, which has changed the way you view yourself, which has changed the way you work and your work, and and then change the clientele that you get and change your expectations. And it's like, it has just been huge. It's been one of the biggest transformations I've ever seen. That I thought it was interesting about the feeling restrictive, because I can't wrap my head around that when I'm thinking steak and asparagus, eggs and bacon, cottage cheese, cream cheese, all these things we get to eat, that we choose to eat, that nourishes our bodies on a cellular level. And people think because they can't have their Hot Pockets and their toaster strudels and Eggo waffles, that's restrictive. I can't wrap my head around that.
Neither can I anymore, Christy. At the start of Code Red, maybe I still could have, but anymore. And some of the foods you just named, I didn't like anyway. But but I know what you mean. Frozen pizzas, gluten-free pizzas, pizza rolls, a pint of ice cream. And so I definitely had my food vices that restriction, but the empowerment in every part of your life that you get when you just start by being mindful and taking control of your eating. It's really all about how you choose to look at it. You can do it as, I can't have this and I'm restricting myself and depriving myself, or you can say, I am taking control and I am choosing to do this. And if it's something that's not going to serve my body, I'm choosing not to eat it. And then proving to myself that I can make those choices and stay in control is why I am where I am now, Christy. And that includes my income going up, getting to work with amazing entrepreneurs like you who are changing the world. I don't want to work with just anybody, honestly. I want to work with people like you who have this mission to improve the world and bring hope and healing to the world. And pre-Code Red Andrea would not have been A, emotionally capable of doing that. And then B, she wouldn't have believed she could, because she was giving her power away to everyone. She was just felt like a victim in her own life. And I even refer to her as in the third person now, because I'm so far away from where I was in just 2 years, I guess. Yeah, 2.5. But, and it all started by taking control of the food I was eating. And that just compounded. I realized I can take control. I can change my life. And by having that foundation of Code Red, it was like a floor that I could never fall below. Never could. And I've just been able to keep stacking and taking more control. And I mean, who knows where I'll be a year from now at the time of this recording. It's probably going to be even more mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And, we've had 40,000 people come through our challenges since I started doing the 10-pound takedown. And that's where Andrea started. And that's where I suggest you start. 10poundtakedown.com is the best place to start. And you always want to, start there, or get yourself a copy of the Code Red Revolution book. Read the copy. I keep referring it to the book, and it's my book. I have written 4 books, and that's the main one. That's a great place to start and to see, well, what do we believe? Because it's not just meat, vegetables, nuts, eggs, seeds, seafoods, and fat. It's not just water and sleep. It's the whole understanding of not being. The reason we call ourselves rebels is because we rebel against society. Society has brainwashed us into believing about food, about weight loss, about exercise, about meal times, about the meal frequencies. All that stuff is wrong, you guys. What they were taught us about cholesterol was wrong. What they taught us about weight loss was wrong. What they taught us about eating frequently to keep up your metabolism is totally wrong, you guys. And we have got to undo all that wrong behavior and learning that we were taught in school, in college, in our families. And we've got to unlearn. And that's what the challenge does. 10poundtakedown.com is a 30-day challenge. You got to get in on the next one, guys. I absolutely suggest that you go to 10poundtakedown.com. You get in on that. That's where Andrea started. She started there. It's a $47 challenge. It's not that big of a commitment. You just do it for 30 days. I'll come to you live every day. I teach you a little bit about what we believe and why we believe it. It's fantastic. You get swag, you get an incentive gift, you get a $50 off a custom program. It's fantastic. That's where we want you to go next. If you're interested, 10poundtakedown.com. Andrea, thank you so much for coming on here with me and sharing with me your thoughts, your feelings, being transparent, being open. I always respect that.
Thank you, Christy. I'm so honored to be here and to be a representative of Code Red and be an example that can inspire others. Completely agree with you on the 10-pound takedown. It is a great way to start unlearning all the lies that are probably holding you back from losing your weight and taking your life back. So thank you. Thank you.
You guys, thanks for joining us on this podcast. Stay tuned for next week's podcast. Don't forget, we drop them every Wednesday morning, early in the morning. And go back and re-listen to or re-watch the old podcast. Keep it fresh in your mind. You can find us on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on iTunes. You can find me everywhere, guys. Stay connected. That is the key here. I'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. If you're not subscribed already, please be sure to do that right now. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could do me a quick favor and rate and review this podcast. That would be just so helpful. Speaking of help, let me know if I can help you. Go to coderedlifestyle.com, check out my programs, and see what we can do for you. Until next time, Rebel on.